Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be talking about Ys Online. Now, Ys Online is a new mobile game that's come out recently. It's been in other regions. Specifically, it's been in like EU, Asia, CN, Taiwan. It's been out for quite a while. We're going to go over my first impression of the game and kind of the good and the bad things that are involved in it. So let's go ahead and dig in. So first off, let's just talk about the overall layout of the game and kind of my first 3 hours. And I would say for my first 3 hours in the game, playing it and experiencing it, it's been pretty good. I wouldn't say it's been a fantastic, incredible, once-in-a-lifetime experience, but I just am kind of left with this okay. And as someone who has played the other Ys games and is moderately connected to the franchise, I don't know that this game does enough to really grab my attention and to pay attention to it. There's a couple of things that the game does which, from a pacing perspective, can be, pretty bad, especially with modern day mobile MMOs. And I think also the graphics don't help the game in its specific capacity, although they do actually offer some high FPS mode settings. They offer some other settings which you can see in here, but these are pretty much all of the settings that you're going to have access to. So while you can run it at a really high FPS and you can moderately have really well success with an emulator, I would actually say this is one of the games that runs the best on BlueStacks. It does just feel like it is an older mobile MMO, or an older MMO in general. A lot of people, when I was streaming, were comparing it to Tree of Savior, to Ragnarok Online. I actually think this is a better version of a Ragnarok Online kind of sequel in many ways in terms of gameplay and presentation than the actual Ragnarok Online mobile game. So I definitely think in terms of mobile MMOs right now, this is probably on the better end of a lot of them, but it does still not do enough to really draw me in and to keep me here. And I think it partially is because it is Ys, and I don't know that Ys has that grab or that attention that, say, maybe a Final Fantasy does or a Ragnarok Online does, but it is just kind of good enough. And I would say, the fact that the game runs really well is definitely a benefit. A little bit of a drawback that it doesn't have a PC client on the global side, as far as I could tell. I went to their webpage, I tried multiple ways to download the PC client. It seems like they have a PC client on both CN, EU, and all the other versions of the game. So it's interesting to me that I couldn't find one for the North American release of the game. It just seemed just a little bit odd. Maybe it's not coming out yet. Besides kind of all of these things though, kind of between what it does good and bad, it definitely overwhelms you. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'll move my camera here. There is a whole UI screen right here, which unloads very quickly. And even when you minimize it, it minimizes down to here. And you have a second UI screen quite separately down here. So you are kind of bombarded with multiple menus in different areas. I don't understand why you wouldn't just have one area for menus. It doesn't fully make sense to me. It makes it feel kind of everywhere, in the sense that there is stuff like when I go to look at my equipment, for example, I'll go to the upper right to that menu because that looks like the menu to go to. And then when I look down at the lower left, I'm like, oh, I need to actually go down there. But aside from really bad UI, it also takes up a lot of space. So you do have, this is the full combat menu here that you guys can see. So literally this entire portion of the screen is going to be the combat menu. And you can't even see it, but there's even more icons above this. So the only real screen space that you're going to see is right here. And that's if it's not cluttered by messages of other players acquiring gear or titles. It can get quite flooded very quickly. You can minimize the missions menu over here, but a lot of the times you're going to be clicking on them and auto navigating to different locations. So you are going to have this out. The chat menu does pop open, so you can click on it, and it does have a very similar Ni no Kuni chat window. I think out of all of this, with all this chat window is really great. I enjoy it. It's a very good feature. It's very similar to Ni no Kuni, but what I'm noticing is that I wish I could just change it so that it could show up on my UI, or I could change my HUD in some type of way. This is also pretty common. This game is probably the most aggressive when it comes to pop-up marketing, so you're going to see a lot of pop-up marketing. I've played other games with pop-ups and paid pop-ups, and that's pretty normal, but I would say this game in particular is very heavily monetized, and it feels that way to me. Usually when you go through and you know, choose a certain option, it'll pop up and it'll say, yeah, we have a free, but if you pay $1, and almost all of the offers are $1 or $1.99. So just small things like this, small things like in this chat, when you just saw me, you know, clicking through the story, icons would pop up and I couldn't continue clicking on the bottom. I have to go up and click the response and then go back down. So things like that are pretty disruptive to the experience. And then you have situations like right now where the quest is continuing itself and I'm not really sure what's going on. Granted, I am making a video and I'm doing other things at once, but sometimes the auto, like, I have no idea why on earth I'm here. I have no idea why on earth I'm fighting this, why I was teleported to this region. It just seems like you get teleported to different areas across the map to do different things for quests, and there's not that feeling of like, oh yeah, this is what, like, this journey, right? This is the journey to this area. Like, as a new player, I mean, a lot of people might not like the navigation aspect, but as a new player, you just get really confused. I couldn't tell you the layout of the starting area because it was literally teleporting me to all of the different places that I needed to go. It was auto battling, and it was almost like, it got to the point where I was just like, I don't even know what mission I'm doing right now. I have no idea what is going on in this game, because literally, you know, it's doing everything for me. And that may be what a lot of people want, but I think it does too much for you. I think it doesn't let you understand, like, this is where you're going, this is the journey. Like, for me, a great auto and a great auto pathing is going to let you explore the world so that you can kind of know the world, know where everything's at, recognize familiar locations. But for this game literally just like does away with that. It's literally like, we're just going to teleport you right here and you are going to kill this. And you guys can see here the messages that popped up at the top. Like, these will keep popping up nonstop. I haven't found a way to get rid of them yet. So there's just a lot of things in terms of UI, in terms of, you know, pacing as well, that just completely throw the game out the window for me. Some people might like this. I could see this being, you know, for people who just want to hop on and maybe do some battles and then turn their phone off. This might be good for them, but it just feels like convoluted. Like, it feels like someone was sitting in an office and they broke down, you know, something you would do once, but now they're going to give you 5 different menus for it, right? They're going to give you 5 different currencies. They're going to give you, you know, this many things to do. It takes the game and it overcomplicates it to an extreme, and then they give it all to you in like the first couple minutes of the game. And, you know, even after 3 hours of playing, I kind of know what I'm doing, but I still feel absolutely overwhelmed. And there is good bones in this game. This game does a lot of things right. Particularly, I just want to shout out again the fact that it runs on BlueStacks without issues. The fact that I haven't crashed while playing it on launch week is incredible. There's been no server issues. There's been no graphical oddities, right? It does a lot of these things really good. And the auto AI does feel really good. The auto combat feels great. There's no lag. Even in multiplayer, there's no lag. But it just doesn't, like, the pacing of the game, the HUD aspect of the game just completely ruins it for me. And, you know, other people might not that might not bother them as much, but for me, it's enough to get me to say, yeah, this is kind of a deal breaker for me. I needed it to be a little bit neater. I needed it to be a little bit more 2022, 2021. And what I got was kind of 2015 in terms of HUD and UI and execution in that regard. And it's really sad because I do like the game. I like the game in terms of equipment, auto AI. I love that you can have conversations. I love the guild aspect of the game. I don't know if I can find it here, but there's so much to do. Like if you go to activities, look at all of these guild activities that are just, they're events literally to do. A lot of them are time-based. So again, time-based events may not be something you're interested in, but I love games that encourage you to work together with others. And I think the longevity of a game is very dependent on the guild system. But this UI aspect, this confusion that I experience as a new player, I think a lot of people are going to drop this game because that is enough to unanchor you, particularly if there's nothing in the game that is anchoring you already. If it's not a guild of friends, if it's not going to be like the franchise itself, right? There's nothing to anchor you and keep you into the game. And because of that, when you encounter some difficulties or a mild inconvenience, which is what I would classify it as to me, you're kind of left immediately as like, I don't know if I want to spend my time here. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you guys next time.